All right. I think is it, that's me. Okay. What? I guess we're recording now. There we go. Normally it says we're recording, but it sounds, I guess we're starting, everyone. Welcome to our May Some Ventures Band of Angels meeting. Really happy that all of you could make it out. We're gonna just cover just basic quick ground rules for tonight, give a little brief history on the group, and then dive into what everyone came here for, which is getting to hear from the founders. This meeting has been around for, gosh, about 6 years now. Been hosting it, and really we've had an amazing time really growing the group and seeing a lot of companies get funded through our network. I think I did the math the other day, and we've had over 20 startups get funded on this meeting alone. Obviously, in some cases they come back and go back and forth, but to the tune of over $200 million. So that's not just direct invested from this group, but that's collectively, and that was that's a lot of it starts right here. So really excited to have you all present. Tonight we're going to have 4 companies give presentations for 10 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. I encourage the founders after the Q&A finishes, stay on the meeting, hang out in the chat area. Occasionally you'll get questions from members of the group directly. They will also want to reach out to you in some cases and set up meetings. We have members from just not only Some Ventures, our fund, but Band of Angels, a group I'm a proud member of. Pasadena Angels, another group I'm proud to be a part of, and TCA, and we're really lucky to have such a nice cross section of investors. So while this is a Some Ventures Band of Angels meeting, technically, you will occasionally see invitations to other angel investment groups come from this meeting. So just stick around, chat with the investors, and hopefully something positive. Well, actually, not hopefully. I'm confident something positive will come from the experience here, because no matter what, founders walk away with great guidance, a bigger network, and hopefully some additional capital. Let's see, what else do I need to cover? With the Band of Angels, Sonia will be joining us for a minute. If you are interested in joining the Band of Angels, Sonia Markova is our executive director. She'll be on the call at any minute now, I would guess, and she's the point person for membership and all of those wonderful things. This is just a portion of the band. The band meets up in Northern California every month, and companies that present at this meeting, we end up sending forward to that Northern California dinner meeting. So it's just another opportunity to get companies, get founders funded. I think that's the big rocks that I need to cover. Let me check with Bill. Bill, I feel like I skipped over something important, and there's Sonia joining us. So welcome.
Yeah, no, Sonia's the person to go to. There's 150 or so members of the Band of Angels in Northern California, now spread around the United States, actually. Sonia's the person to talk to. Different special interest group in the band, focusing on hard tech, software, medicine, life science, a variety of other things, agriculture. And the LA SIG is one of the most popular special interest groups in the entire band. So kudos to Garrett and to Darren too, who brings a lot of people into this area. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. And so the one thing I did not cover was that generally at the beginning of these meetings, and we're going to continue with that today, like to have founders who have we've previously funded come through and share with the group, share an update, and oftentimes there's additional opportunities to follow on invest. But I also just think it's nice. You make better investment decisions, in my opinion, the more you track and get to know founders over extended periods of time and see their progress. It helps me at least connect the dots to where they're going in the future. So with that, I'm going to hand it over first to Logan Spears, who is the founder of Tensa. And for those of you who recall, Logan's got an incredible background in AI and computer vision, having been CTO of very large companies, and also co-founded development shops, and just he's had a pretty impressive career given how young he is in tech so far. So Logan, why don't you just floor is yours to just share a few, I would say somewhere in the 5 to 7 minute update range on what's going on with Tensa.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. I did have a PowerPoint because there are some visuals, but it's not allowing me to share.
Well, I will enable that. While I enable it, I will also share that, one of the things that we will do as a fund occasionally is we will jump in and we will make pre-seed investments in very high potential founders. And this is a case where I just have to admit my bias up front. We definitely we dove into Tensa head first. Let me see here. Did I?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
We should be enabled now. I clicked it twice now, so we're hopefully our Zoom issue stops tonight. But let's try it one more time for me. Is it working for you now?
1 second. Says I have to quit and rejoin. Sorry about that. Be right back.
Okay. That's okay. Well, while he rejoins, I'll give a shameless plug to Some Ventures and share that in a few minutes I'll drop our recent newsletter in case anyone missed it in the chat window. If you saw the newsletter, we actually did achieve a final close for our inaugural fund, and so that's thanks to all of you guys. And really, it was for launching in 2022. I remember the meetings back in Dan's office at Douglas Elliman back in 2022. And we didn't quite see what was ahead of us, all the challenges in the market right at that moment in time, Dan. But we navigated, and I think we're gonna be really happy with the capital that we've deployed during this past 2 years, because our companies are thriving. They're all doing very well, and now we get to hear from Logan about a future company that's going to do well. Go ahead.
Will you guys see the PowerPoint now?
Can see it fine.
Yes. Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, as Garrett mentioned, hi, I'm Logan with Tensa. Proud to be working with Some Ventures as our lead investor, and thankful for the opportunity to show some progress we're making today. As a quick reminder, Tensa is the Peloton of tennis, offering a robotic tennis assistant for tennis training and general fitness that will function as a hitting partner that can help you improve your game. There we go. We've added some new faces, and I'll also mention it's an extremely capital efficient.
The slide didn't progress.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. The speaker notes aren't working, but that's okay. We added some new faces over the past month. Firstly, we have Jeff Seaman, who was the former CTO of a software company that was acquired in the mining technology space. He just joined the team. We also have William Martin, 3D game developer that is working on our simulation, and I'll kind of get into the rationale for that. And then we have Adam Marcesini, sorry, who is a tennis pro and a data scientist, a rare combination that is helping us develop our curriculum. All right, so we're making a simulation and digital twin of Tensa, and that's one of the things that we're working on right now, hence the need for the 3D game designer. This is a cutting-edge approach to training robotic AIs, and will enable our rapid go-to-market. This will run in parallel with the hardware development. Speaking of hardware development, sorry, I have to switch screens to make it to move. All right, the manufacturable prototype is now targeting July for a testable version. We're really excited about that. We just hired an industrial designer that's working on the look and feel. You see the sketches there on the very right. And the original version of our design is holding up well, and we haven't made significant changes to that. So that's very encouraging from a speed of go-to-market. As far as our AI progress, we've made significant progress in the past month or so. We've amassed a very large data set of over 100,000 annotations and tens of thousands of images, larger than anything we've seen in literature or open source in the sports data's realm, creating the ability to create the foundation models that we need to power the user experiences of Tensa. Here's a visualization of one of the key models in action, showing the ball tracking for where the ball lands when a player hits. We're really excited to solve some of these problems very early so that we can put them into action in the hardware. Thanks, Garrett.
Thank you. Thank you, Logan. We'll give you a question or two, as I'm sure that there may be one or two in the audience if anyone wants to chime in. Again, this is just more of a quick update, not the full pitch here, but if anyone has one, feel free to. I'm gonna throw one out there then. I guess I'd like to a little bit understand, the last time we connected a couple of weeks ago, we were working with the sort of the new form factor and I believe it was the industrial engineer from Tesla who I think it was Tesla who had come on board. Can you share sort of what's going on in that part of the process, and sort of when you expect to start working on, or are we going to be working sort of with a retrofitted ball machine for how much longer until we move over to that next step?
Yeah, so the initial prototype that we are manufacturing was that July timeframe that we'll be using that instead of the existing bootstrapped hardware. And yeah, the mechatronics engineer, former Tesla engineer, which encompasses electrical, mechanical, and computer engineering, is the individual working on that.
Awesome. So for those members who may have a tennis court nearby and you want to get your early reservation in today, that will make you the coolest tennis player in your neighborhood. And I think that, well, I think Cal's probably already the coolest tennis player in his neighborhood given his background, but it doesn't hurt, Cal. It doesn't hurt to have also the coolest tennis ball machine.
We can always improve.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, again, Logan, if you stick around just for a little bit in case other questions come to mind, share your contact info. That'd be awesome. The next up, I'm really excited to have Sebastian come back. If you go back in time, probably as long as 3 years ago, you'd see YBVR presenting, and when I wrote an angel check into YBVR many years ago, and now I'm really happy that we're going to get an opportunity to participate sort of at the last chunk of the seed round before their Series A through our fund. And Sebastian, without stealing too much of your thunder, I want to hand it over to you. I will share that on our website. If you look on our homepage, you'll see Mark Zuckerberg dedicating a huge chunk of MetaConnect to X Stadium, the product that was built by Sebastian and his co-founder Hector. And I don't want to steal your thunder, so you could share the news on what you're launching and rolling out with them, and the other progress you've made.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great moment in my career. Seeing Mark Zuckerberg on stage, basically doing a pitch for us. Now, whenever we go to
taking
investors,
credit for your work. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Mark Zuckerberg was up there.
We talk to investors now. We're just like, don't listen to me, listen to Mark, and we just play the video. He's doing all the work for us. So we're going from tennis to tennis because we're also very deep into the tennis world from not from so much from the training perspective, but from the watching and enjoying. And fun fact, one of my co-founders also used to be a professional tennis player. So there's that connection too. So just for those of you who haven't met us at YBVR, we do streaming experiences for sports in immersive devices. This Meta Quest, the Apple Vision Pro. Basically, you put on a VR headset and it feels like we teleport you to a live game. It's a video streaming solution with multiple cameras, with immersive video. So it really feels like you're there. We started quite a long time ago, and there were a bunch of companies doing this. And right now we're the clear leaders in the industry. There's really not anyone else doing this at the level that we're doing it. And this Mark Zuckerberg thing started kind of roughly around that time, 3 years ago, when we signed a partnership with Meta. And since then it's been growing and growing, and we launched the application that we call Stadium like a year and a half ago, and it's become the reference aggregator for sports streaming in the MetaQuest platform, which is basically the only platform out there, minus now the Apple Vision Pro, which is still like a very niche product, very expensive. The MetaQuest is really the platform you want to be if you're doing anything in extended reality, in XR, in AR, VR. And yeah, we're featured at MetaConnect this last October. Mark Zuckerberg was talking a lot about us. It's a killer use case they really want to promote, because people use these devices for gaming, but they also kind of like the whole industry is pushing towards this has to be more than just games. This is just for things in general, and entertainment is kind of like the next big thing after games. And this year we featured the NBA, the entire season of the NBA through the NBA League Pass. So we integrated with NBA. If you're an NBA subscriber, you were able to put your credentials with the NBA League Pass and watch all the NBA games in what we call the multi-game mode, which is a really amazing experience. It's like, and sorry I didn't have time to prepare a presentation for this, but like you can imagine in mixed reality, you can be like, you can see your living room and you see all the floating screens of all the NBA games happening at the same time on a given day. So you can have up to 15 different screens, 15 different games. You like your own sports book where you can just select which one you want to hear. Whichever you click, it gets bigger. And that was a huge success. We streamed over 1,000 games this NBA season. We finished before the playoffs, so the playoffs were not part of the rights package we had. And onboarding new partners, we just recently announced ESPN, which is of course another heavyweight in the industry. So now we have an ESPN. We call them rooms. We have like an ESPN room inside of our app. We also have the Zone. This weekend we're doing a Tyson Fury boxing event with the Zone specifically. So we have our team flying there to Saudi Arabia to cover this boxing game. We have UFC now starting with WNBA, which is also getting a bit stronger this year. And as a company, we do pretty much, we're very vertical. We do pretty much everything. We do from sending the cameras, operating the crew at the venue, for which we also use third parties for scale, to all the software that processes the video, optimizes the video, controls the camera change. We have a bunch of patents in optimization to improve the quality of this type of 8K videos, to the application that basically you download in the headset, the brand. So we get that asked a lot. Like, what part of the whole thing do you guys do? Well, pretty much everything minus the hardware. The hardware is of course, the hardware operating system is done by Meta. And just regarding Meta, like, which is again our largest partner right now, we just got word that Mark Zuckerberg has approved renewing 3 more years of our partnership. So at least for sure we'll have 3 more years of support of more NBA content, of more like top tier content in our application, and also starting conversations with Apple, obviously, and with Google. That some of you may not know, but Google, they announced together with Samsung they're going to launch a device kind of like a competitor to the Apple Vision Pro. So it'll be like the Samsung Galaxy Vision, whatever they want to call it. But you can imagine, same as when they have their phones competing with the iPhone, they will launch a device competing with the Apple Vision Pro. So we're excited to also talk to these other players and to see this industry not being just a race of one, but also with Apple now, it starts feeling like a competition for the next platform.
Awesome. Well, Sebastian, I know we got to get to our major presentations, but we're going to start effectively at 5:30 for those. So if we have a question from the group or anyone wants to hit Sebastian with the question, feel free to chime in. Can you share the revenue numbers on what you're doing with Meta right now, or is that not?
So we're roughly talking about 5 million a year,
yeah,
something like that. And our revenue, like last year, was like a bit over 5 as well.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, hey, please stick around, and there will be more news coming on YBVR as we look forward to having you back as you continue to scale. So awesome. Well, now we're
thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we're going into the 4 presentations. I would say the meat of the evening here, and we got Francesco there. I see you. Appreciate you making the time to join us tonight. Francesco's a serial founder. Actually, Adam, would you like to make the introduction here, because you are? I really enjoyed my conversation with Francesco, but you were the source of the opportunity. So why don't you take it away.
Sure. I'll try to keep it brief, and not tell his story for him. But there are a bunch of things that I love about Tilt, and I'm excited to see Fran present tonight. You know, just a couple things. They're solving a real problem for a massive industry that's completely underserved by technology, which is, I think, is really interesting. It's a fantastic team. They've already got a ton of traction. So, you know, overall, I think it's a really interesting opportunity for the group, and happy to hear Fran tell the story for himself.
Thanks,
There you
Adam.
Go for it.
Let me share my screen so everyone can see the presentation. Cool. Hi. So I'm Fran. I'm one of the co-founders of Tilt. Tilt is trying to automate the future of freight through AI. And when I talk about freight, we're specifically focused on freight brokerage, which I'll touch on later on. And I'll also touch on how AI helps us automate. I'm not from the freight brokerage industry or the logistics industry at all. My background is machine learning and computer vision. I've been an engineer by trade and a CTO prior to that. My other two co-founders are the guys who've got that logistics backbone. So when I came into this industry as a technologist looking in, I was amazed at the lack of innovation, lack of technology. It's a huge industry, and everything was super manual, super telephone driven, a real lack of limited real-time data, and just generally a lack of accessible and advanced tools. And it contributed to a lot of these smaller brokers, and we'll touch on those stats later on, failing in their first year. And so as a kind of entrepreneur looking at it, I saw a huge opportunity to effectively bring technology to the fore and drive innovation into this industry. And so we set about building effectively an end-to-end tool that would allow brokers, regardless of size, whether a one-man, two-man, three-man brokerage, to compete against $1 billion firm, to be able to sustain themselves against the biggest competitors. And so we built a foundational block here, which is the equivalent of CRM. They call it a TMS in the industry. And we started to build automation so that you're no longer picking up the phones to find where drivers are. You have everything at your fingertips, as much data as you possibly need, forecasting on if a driver is going to be late, auto updates for your client, data insights if your client is like a DHL and they want to know, hey, what's our CO2 output because we have goals we have to hit. Everything is in on one dashboard so that effectively that one-man broker is the equivalent of a 10-man team. And the kind of fundamental goal of us is to automate micro functions within the process so that those brokers have very little lift. And I'll touch on the quantifying of that later on. And we also identified other problems on our journey. So, for example, I didn't know this, but fraud is a massive problem. I don't have a huge amount of time, but trucks disappearing is not an unusual thing in the US, believe it or not. Truck picks up in Fontana, LA, drives into the Mojave Desert, never comes out the other side. That actually does occur. And so we've built in a lot of tools that use AI, use computer vision to make sure that the driver's insurance is up to date, to make sure that all their documentation, their driving license, etc., match the database ones we have in our database to ensure that fraud isn't occurring. The size of the market is staggering. It's $876 billion moves on the back of trucks, of which about 200 billion now, I said 165, about 200 billion is brokered. To give you some perspective, the US is not twice the size of Europe or twice the landmass, but it moves way more than twice the freight on the back of trucks. You guys literally move everything on trucks. And so the industry is enormous. And in that industry, almost all the carriers, the truckers, are mom and pop shops. So you've got 750,000 carriers and 96% of them operate 10 or less trucks. That's a hugely fragmented and fractured marketplace there. And it means that finding truckers in the right places is very difficult. And then on the brokerage side, again, highly fractured, highly fragmented, 90,000 brokers. Almost all of them are what we would class as small brokers, so $25 million or below. So a very long tail of small brokers that are pushing freight through. We we've created two business models. So SaaS, I don't need to explain that one. You guys are super familiar with it. They can use our software in exchange for monthly or annual payments. The model that really got me excited as an entrepreneur was this task model. And the way that task model functions is it's transport as a service, and it includes some wraparound care as well to ensure these smaller brokers have the support they need to be able to grow. But it's done on a profit share. So effectively, whatever the profit is that they make, we take a cut of. So 30%, 40%. If they're a very large broker, 20%. It scales depending on the size of their business. And I love that model because it scales with the customer, unlike SaaS, but also it gives the customer respite if they're having a bad month, etc., etc. So it's a model I'm really fond of, and our customers really love as well. So this is an example of a small customer for us. This is a very small customer. This is a one-man band. So this is what I'm talking about when that mom and pop shop broker in his bedroom. He does about $1 million in gross value transactional a year. So that's how much he bills from his customers. And he clears about 211,000 in agent profit. And we take 63,000 of that to service him, to give him software, to give him all the round clock servicing that he needs. And it costs us about $700 a month to service that account. So it's pretty healthy margins for us. And this is the bottom end of the scale. To show you how it compares to SaaS, as you can see, the SaaS carries a higher margin because ultimately the way we calculate margin here is we calculate it before we split with our customer. But the profit here, the gross profit, is astronomically higher. And it has the same stickability, it has a very low churn. Once customers are in our task model, they tend to stick because they're in our infrastructure. We're managing all their billing, we're managing all their customer relations, we're managing all their transport, all their load, all their tracking. Everything is running through our infrastructure, and so there's really good stickability there. This is a real brief slide on quantifying the success, and I think this slide is important so you understand why people choose to use our platform. A one-man broker used to be capped at, let's say as a ballpark, $1.5 million of gross value. So they could bill 1.5 million and that was it. With our software tool, they can now bill more like 4.5 million, $5 million. And that means that a one-man broker is all of a sudden able to generate 700, 800,000, 900,000, $1 million worth of gross profit as a solo operator, of which we take 25% and they keep the rest. And so all of a sudden, becoming a solo operator is a very lucrative business opportunity for these guys. And we reduce, for the larger brokers, we reduce the amount of manpower requirements. So they can cut their team from 5 to 2 and still service the same customers. We can help increase their margins when they're finding these smaller carriers. And we try and automate every aspect of their trucking experience. And so everything that is on time, which is 90% of all their freight, is fully automated. The only time that our system doesn't handle things, it will notify the broker if there's a breakdown or if there's a crash, because obviously that still requires human intervention. But almost all freight through our platform is fully automated. Competitor marketplace is highly fractured, highly fragmented as well. Loads of SaaS players in the bottom end here. As a broker, you have to have like 10, 15 subscriptions just to survive, which is crazy. But the market that I'm really interested in is that top right corner there. No technology companies that have a lot of agents in their program or task customers. There's billions of dollars of revenue in just those 5 companies. Well over $20 billion of revenue in those 5 companies. So it's a really lucrative opportunity in terms of the task model. We see ourselves as a bridge. So we have the tracking, we have the TMS, we're building the AI and automation. As I said, we built AI for like fraud prevention, but we're building more and more elements to that. And we have analytics, and we provide more and more data. As our customers require more data, we're building more and more features in. This is where we are to date. We launched our task model in September of last year. We did 1.1 from that. I guess the key figure here is the net revenue. Our margins are growing as our task and SaaS models are released. We are profitable to date. We did about, I think it's actually more like 0.6 in profit at the end of last year. The funding here is very much to drive growth. Very briefly on the team slides, I know we're running out of time. as I mentioned, two of the co-founders, they grew their last brokerage they were in from $30 million to I think it's doing over $1 billion now. Very strong logistics background. My background is an engineer. My last business I exited. I was the co-founder and we listed that. And I've also exited previously to that as well. So my background has very much been on the engineering side. And before we run out of time, we are raising 1.5 million. It's a smaller round than I was originally planning to do, but I think 1.5 million gets us to a really good place to perhaps do a larger round because we are profitable. We don't have that aggressive burn that we have to worry about. And we're doing it at post-money valuation of 17.5. 1.1 of that is probably already committed, soft circled roughly, maybe 1.2. So there's a little bit left over at the end. We will oversubscribe if we have to. And yeah, that's it. I think I've just about come in on time.
Hey, well, no, thanks so much, Fran. You really you nailed it. Way to dial it in right at 10 minutes. I think the first question will open up for the rest of the group. You have the existing brokerage business. Can you go back to your financial model and sort of share what is sort of legacy business and then what is the tech-enabled piece that's scalable, reflected here in this graph on the chart?
Yeah, so all the legacy business is now running through our technology. So
Okay.
everything on the legacy side is I've separated them out so you guys can see where it sits, but effectively what we now class as internal tasks is surplus customers. And an example of that is sometimes we get a small broker that comes to us, a one-man band, that simply can't handle the freight they get. And that freight then goes into our internal task business. So for example, one of our customers has, let's say, Tyson Foods as a customer, and Tyson Foods says, can you cover 20 loads today? I need 20 shipments to go out today from one of our facilities. And that's almost impossible for one person to do in a day. That's a lot of coverage. I mean, it is plausible, but let's say it's not. And so they would go to us, can you cover 10 of those through the digital brokerage that sits behind? And so we plan to maintain that digital brokerage in the background. I haven't shown it growing because that's not what we're getting the investment for, right? That's not the core business there. But we're seeing more and more of our customers just passing on business because they still get a percentage cut, right? Let's say 20%, 30%, and they don't have to handle it because they just don't have capacity. The one thing I've realized in this business is a lot of those small brokers, they don't actually want to hire staff. They don't want to have people manage people. They just want to be like a one-man band and do it themselves. And so if they can't handle the freight, for example, they tend to pass it to us. Does that answer your question?
Yep, that's helpful. Questions from the group?
Are you targeting more kind of long haul versus short haul? I know that's kind of different players.
This is what we would describe as like the middle mile. So it's more like depot to depot. It's full truckloads. Although we are looking at LTL as well now. But yeah, it's not like the delivery drivers. It's the depot to depot. It's the big trucks.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about your overall data strategy, right? So at some point you have potentially more, data for logistics from multiple sources. I'm just wondering how you're thinking about that in the long term.
Yeah, I mean the long-term data strategy is going to be really interesting. I mean, in the short term, in all honesty, I'm drowning under the amount of data we have. Just trying to pick out the bits that we need and we don't need is a bit of a struggle. So the core focus is for us right now is data that is truly valuable. So for example, all the lane history and pricing data is incredibly valuable because we use that for forecasting and giving our customers the best price insights. Any data that's related to fraud prevention, we're siloing. So for example, making sure that we have trends for certain routes or driver IDs, or compiling information portals for specific carriers and truckers. So basically when you go to assign a trucker or a carrier, it brings up all their previous data. So they've been on time 40% of the time, they've had a lot of breakdowns, they're unreliable, etc., etc. So yeah, we have a very broad long-term data strategy because we have so many sources of data coming in. I don't know if I mentioned, but we have an app that the drivers have on their phone. So we can calculate things like CO2 emissions, how fast they're going, how slow they're going, how often they're stopping. So there's a lot of data and there is a long-term strategy there. It's not as built out as it should be though in reality, just because there's so much of it and we have a pretty small team.
Got it. Thank you.
Other questions from the group? free to
Yeah,
just
I have a question. I've been reading recently about long haul trucking going autonomous. Whether that's a reality in the future or not, I don't know, but are you talking to any of those people, thinking about hooking up with them in terms of trucks that are autonomous?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, it doesn't really affect our business because ultimately we would just hook up to the truck and we would provide it with all the data that it needs to go from destination to destination. But I think not in this round, obviously, but once we do a Series A, we will probably either partner or invest in a truck or two trucks, like a Tesla truck, and start testing out our technology and how that feeds in and if it can feed directly into the dash, etc. Because that is an exciting area to play around with for sure. Yeah, the system is built though. It could easily provide the data to a autonomous truck.
Yeah, thanks. Sounds great.
All right, other questions from the audience? Feel free to just chime in, guys.
Fran, I'm curious, this numbers slide, you had quite a bit of growth, 22 to 23, and you're projecting a lot of growth going into 24. How confident are you that you're going to hit that 33 million figure?
You know, 24 is a difficult year for us because we're trying to really push out the technology product and the team is under a lot of strain trying to grow out. I mean, I'll give you an example. We have a client that wants to onboard that's $20 million in gross revenue, not net. So let's say they're at 20%. So 4 million in net revenue, we make 1 million in profit off that. We don't have a CFO. We don't have a customer support team. We don't have an ops team. Like, so right now we have a pipeline of $166 million of gross value at the top. And we're onboarding that at a slug's pace because we don't have the infrastructure to support it. So am I confident we'll do the number? Yeah, I'm pretty confident. We did 7.6 million in Q1, which is our quietest quarter. But we could it really depends on how fast we onboard our clients, to be honest with you. So I want to get this fundraise done. As I said, we're almost there. End of June, I want to close it out and then really focus on onboarding customers and making sure that we have the infrastructure to actually support them, because it's not great to onboard a customer and then drop the ball, right?
So assuming you do get the funding you're looking for, what can go wrong?
I mean, there's always things that can go wrong, right? I experienced it in my previous business. We were first to market by a mile, and within 12 months, we had like 10 competitors like around us. And I've learned a lot of lessons in defensibility and making sure the business is in a good place. I honestly think we're in a good place. My biggest worries are making sure that the technology is scaling correctly and we're building the features that our customers want, because we're running on a what I would describe as a skeleton crew to what I've been used to historically. You know, we don't have a full QA capability that we should have, and so there's a few elements, but there's nothing that I see that's going to be like catastrophic. It's just really like dropping the ball on like customer onboarding, not servicing the customers correctly, or engineering dropping the ball or something, but nothing that I can see that's going to be like catastrophe.
All right, well, thank you, and congratulations on the progress you've made. It's impressive.
Thank you.
Can you also give us a little more insight on your operating expense projections?
My operating expense projections, yeah. To be honest with you, they're probably a little bit out because we were thinking about closing the round a little bit earlier in May, and so I put up quite an aggressive hiring plan in place. Whilst I think now it's going to be a more staggered hiring plan. So, for example, one of the questions would be, do we get a full-time CFO or do we get a fractional CFO? Do we bring in a full-time QA team or do we outsource the QA team? So almost all the operating expenses there are linked to salaries. Literally all of it, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay. Any other final questions for Fran? All right. Well, if a question does come to mind, please drop in the chat. Fran, thank you so much for making the time, and Adam, thanks again for being a good deal scout out there. I really, I can tell you, we're excited to follow up with you on behalf of the fund and learn more. And yeah, we'll please again just stick around for a few minutes if you don't mind. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll have a few other questions come your way. Next up, is Yoram here? I'm sure he is. I think I saw
Thank
him.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good job. All right. Yoram, where are you? There you are. All right. So this is a another pretty unique opportunity to have Yoram come. Well, actually, this is your first time presenting to this group. Your daughter, I believe, presented a few years ago, actually, when you're at a much earlier stage in your journey. And I would say for those of you who aren't familiar with Noria and with Yoram, all you have to do is Google his name. He's arguably probably the industry expert in his field in the world, from what I've read online about you. So it's been pretty incredible seeing how many times you've been published with regards to water treatment and membrane usage. And I'm going to drop a link in here just so everyone knows I'm not it's not being hyperbolic, but it's quite the incredible track record. And it seems that Noria has come upon a real inflection point with some opportunities to scale their technology, and I'm excited that Yoram can come in and share with us just a little bit of an update as they get ready to do their Series A, but there's a little bit of room for the group to get in before that. So the floor is yours, sir, and yeah, we'll look forward to the
all right,
presentation.
let me share the screen. All right, well, thank you for the kind words. Yes, I have been around for a while, so it's a pleasure to be here with you to talk about Noria and about what Noria is doing for the water market, for water sustainability, and for desalination plants. So, in fact, this is as a continuation. Yesterday, I just gave a workshop or a short course on desalination and a major meeting. And so I've been around this business for a while and recognize some of the problems and what needs to be done. And so Noria was formed. I founded Noria back, a number of years back. And also my co-founder today is Dr. Bilal Khan, who is an expert in machine learning and AI. So Noria has a team that focuses on both the technical aspects of our hardware system that I will describe to you, and also with regard to analysis, image analysis, analytics, decision support. And Noria, of course, has a board of directors that guides Noria. So basically, what Noria has been doing is looking into the issue of water sustainability, the production of water from sources that are either underutilized or not used at all directly for potable water, such as seawater. So now you have plants, and primarily reverse osmosis desalination plants that are used for water desalination to increase the water portfolio around the world. And this is really an important issue right now. We're looking at a shortfall of 40% of freshwater supplies by 2030. So those plants basically utilize membranes that basically filter salt. They're inside high pressure vessels that you see in here, so you can't really see what's going on in those vessels. We're looking at elements that have leaves of membranes. I won't go through the details in here, but basically as water flows through, the fresh water, the permeate flow spirals back into a producing element in here. The problem is in the plants is that the water that you are treating has all sorts of foulants in it, could have bacteria and others, and what it can do is what you see in here. And this is deposition that you see on a membrane. This is from one of our clients in the Middle East. So the problem is that there is a lot of effort that goes into maintaining the performance of those membranes that costs money, both in terms of cleaning, both in terms of losing permeability of those membranes, which basically means that you have to apply more pressure and therefore more energy, and it leads to more frequent replacement of those membranes. Just to give you an idea, in a plant, in many of the large plants, they might have 10,000 to 30,000 plus elements, and each one of those elements costs about $450. So replacing those is quite costly, and therefore there's a room here to decrease operational costs significantly, and from Noria's experience by about 10 to 30%, depending on the plant. So Noria has developed a monitoring system that basically allows us to mimic what happens in the RO elements in here. We can actually image what happens on the membrane surface in real time, get information from the plant about pressure, flow rate, and so on. That information is then relayed to the cloud, and this is where we do our decision support and image analysis, and then provide the plant with information about how to optimize it and do that in real time. So what we see, just to give you a very, very quick view, here's an example from one of the locations. You'll see mineral scale that forms on the membrane surface, and then of course creates havoc for the operation. We can see it in real time, analyze it, identify it, know what it is, and do so months in advance of any other conventional approaches. So Noria has built its system where all the information is then provided to the Noria cyber infrastructure, where we do all the analysis, feed the information back to the plant. And so now with the advent, of course, of machine learning, AI, there's a lot that we do automatically with the system, including reports generation, alarms, causal analysis, and provide information to the operators how to improve the operation. So also, as a result of that, Noria has built one of the largest databases, if not the largest, regarding what really happens on membrane surface in real time, and therefore be able to train our systems to figure out exactly what type of foulants exist, and therefore how should you clean it, what sort of chemicals you should use with the system, what is the frequency at which you should clean, and so on. So that becomes very, very important. Now, I'll give you just very, very quick examples. Is that in one of the plants that we are working at, using the R Spotlight, one could determine that the anti-scalants that are used to mitigate scaling can be reduced. The amount that is used can be reduced by about 20 to 25%. In one of the large plants here in California, that meant about $500,000 of savings per year. So those can be significant. And I will mention later on about risk mitigation as well. In terms of competition in this area, Noria really has no competition right now. Hard to say what will happen in the future. Noria has patents in 26 countries plus the US on its technology. And it is the only one that provides real-time analytics and related to what happens on the membrane surface in real time. So that's a real advantage. And the savings, as I mentioned, 10 to 30%, overall. So that's significant. And the idea of being able to see what's on the membrane surface is really disruptive. And I usually give the example that you wouldn't drive your car with a GPS that provides you the coordinates every 15 minutes. You wouldn't drive your car with your eyes closed. So the same thing here. We're providing an ability to actually see what happens inside those high pressure systems. So Noria's customer will benefit from annual savings in operation, risk mitigation, and really changes the way in which the plant is running. So mitigation is very important of risk. And recently, Noria has worked with one of its clients where Noria basically saved the clients about $100 million, which would have been lost over a period of 20 years, simply because we were able to see early on that part of the plant design and operation in its early stages was suboptimal. You wouldn't be able to see it later in time. It would have taken a year or thereabout. By that time, the contract for plant operation would have been signed. Noria has its installation that have been tested and proven with our clients around the world, in Singapore, Saudi, in UAE, the United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, where we'll be installing shortly, in the world's largest zinc mines, actually 100 miles from the Arctic circles, in the East Coast, West Coast, with the Electric Power Research Institute, and even here in California, in the Orange County Water District, which is used for water reuse. So very quickly, there are many plants around the world. The Noria is targeting the 2 million gallons per day to the largest plants, which is about 800 million gallons per day. In those plants, we have 2 to 10 hour spotlights that can be installed, usually 2, 1 in the front and 1 in the back end of the plant. So depending on how many installed, that will determine really the number of clients. So in our business model, we are charging the clients, the charge is about $7,000 a month. And that includes remote monitoring, and includes various type of analytics, reporting, engineering services, plus an upfront fee of $100,000. That's for 2-hour spotlight, which is paid up front. So over a 5-year period, which is what we are aiming at, to $520,000 over a 5-year period. We're aiming for 1,600 installations over a 5-year period. That will bring us to a gross revenue of $104 million. Now, remember I said 2-hour spotlights per plant, so it really depends. If it's 2 per plant, it'll be 800 plants. If it's 2 to 6 to 10, depending on the plant size, then that could be somewhere between 350 to 800 customers. Now, in the world, we have about 22 RO plants, but the ones that we're targeting, the number is about 12,000. So going from 2 million gallons a day and up. The serviceable addressable market is about 1.2 billion. The total addressable market is 2.2. Noria estimates, based on what I've just described, $104 million of revenue, and that's 8.5% only of the serviceable addressable market. So there's a lot of room to grow, especially when the industry is growing at about 8% per year. So, you know, we estimate that within 16 months or so from the time that we get our, Series A, that we will be at a point of break even, and at that point continue to grow, as you can see in this chart. So I will finish with this last slide. It says we are focusing on a $3 million of Series A fundraise valuation, pre-money of $12 million. That will be, of course, Series A preferred shares. In terms of where Noria have been in the past, Noria was funded based on basically contracts and grants and a lot of sweat equity. And in 2020, raised 2.1 million from seed investors. So again, the projection revenue is about 104 million. We estimate roughly about 30% EBITDA in here. And we believe that Noria will be ready for potential acquisition at about 5x EBITDA by the end of the five-year period. The funding will be used primarily to scale Noria's business. We would be outsourcing much of the assembly and the fabrication of our monitoring system. We'll only do in-house testing and certification at Noria, and also engineering support, marketing, and sales, which is critical to our growth. So with that, I will finish here and open it up to any questions. And it looks like I went over by a few minutes.
Oh, you're fine. You did a great presentation. Thank you very much. Fascinating. First question from I'm curious as to, because clearly you're a professor at UCLA. How much of your time right now is dedicated to Noria, and how much is dedicated to teaching, and at what point does it fully become 100% dedicated to Noria?
So that's a very good question. And so let me just say that I'm no longer teaching at UCLA. I have transitioned to what they term a distinguished research professor at UCLA, which basically means that I'm free to do as I wish. Okay, so I'm at Noria essentially full time. I do have interactions with colleagues at UCLA and you know, with the research community. So I mean, that's just part of the business. A few days ago, I was in Santa Fe, and like I said, I gave a course to industry folks about water desalination. So if you ask me, was that on behalf of Noria, or was that on behalf of who? It's just on behalf of who I am.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I'll have others, but we'll open up for the group first. Questions, chime in.
So is the AI predominantly vision based here? So and kind of a second part of that question is the setup for a new plant or customer, what does that look like, and what is the timeline there?
Okay, so there are a few questions in here, so I'll take it.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I hope in order. In terms of AI and machine learning, I've been in the area of machine learning, you know, for many years, and I think often we use AI, you know, where people actually mean machine learning. But the AI part is about decision support. The machine learning part is with regard to the imaging, you know, in order to recognize what it is that you're looking at. And we're doing also hyperspectral imaging. So we're looking at reconstructing what we see on the surface to know, is it mineral scale that is calcium carbonate, which you see at the bottom of your hot water kettle, you know, after a while? Is it organic material? Is it biofoulant? So that's part is basically machine learning. Some people might say it's AI, but I would not, you know, categorize it as such.
It's pretty conflated these days.
Yeah. So well, I have to be direct. I mean, I'm in this area. So the part about AI is in decision support. So when you see what happens on the membranes, when you look at the plant data in terms of pressure, in terms of the energy use that they have, the question is, what do you do, right? And so, and how does that relate to what you see on the surface? And so we need to develop decision support, and we do that using various approaches, such as Bayesian networks as one example. There are other approaches. We also introduce nowadays where we have generative, you know, AI. We just introduced Ask Noria, which basically means if customers need to ask, what should we do when we see A, B, C, D, and E? Well, you know, don't call Cohen, you know, just ask Noria, okay? And the information is there based on, of course, what? We train it based on our knowledge, our experience, you know, literature information, the data that we've collected from many different plants in terms of what to do and what will the saving do. AI is also to predict, to forecast. If you don't do something today, what will happen tomorrow, next week, in terms of how badly your efficiency of operation will, you know, basically decrease to, and that becomes important. So in terms of what the systems look like, let me just move in here. Do you see them behind me?
Yep.
Okay, this is, well, they're not really behind me. It's a photo of a system from Singapore at the Kranji plant, which was one of the first plants after the one in Orange County for water reuse. And they do desalination, you know, for the final part, so that the water can be brought to a potable level. So here you see two, because, and probably if I move, you can see the membrane in there, right? You can see this image. So operators can actually walk through the plant and look at it in real time when they clean using various chemicals and other approaches, they can actually see if they're cleaning or not, okay, and not guess. Of course, they can also see everything remotely, and they can see it on the cloud, on their cell phone, and they can have various decision alerts into what they should do. So the system, for example, will tell them, hey, it is time to do a clean water or permeate flush, you know, right now because of the current conditions. And when you do that, they save or reduce the frequency of having to clean those membranes, because if you let it go too far, you have to replace those, and the cost can be very, very high. And it's not just the chemicals, it's the labor. And from my experience, this is a problem. And I come at this not just as somebody who dreamt one day a solution, but I've worked in this area for many years, and was very, very concerned with the fact that we're making decisions without really knowing what happens inside, okay, those membranes. So that becomes important. And I have spent in essentially every one of our clients now, I've actually been with my boots on the ground. I've worked with the Noria team to install those systems and to commission them. So I have firsthand knowledge about problems that you know one would encounter that people don't even talk about. Okay, when you actually do things in the real plant. And the technology is advanced, but operations are not as advanced as you might think.
Well, thank you for that. I think that we probably have time for one more brief question, then we'll move the questions over to chat, because I'm sure you probably get a few more after this as well. Does anyone want to toss another question out there? Well, it's probably because you did a heck of a job of covering a lot of information there, Yoram. I will. I'm going to ask just one last one, and it's more just from a pricing standpoint and sort of where the market is heading. You know, I read more and more about water scarcity and the value of water increasing over time. Do you feel like your projections, in a way, looking forward, you know, if you don't exit, say, in 5 years, that there is opportunity at least to increase the pricing, because the value of water is frankly going to at least some are projecting it's going to continue to rise significantly over the next couple decades?
Yeah, I think that the industry is growing very, very rapidly. In 2022, 2023, there are about 150 new plants. So it's a recognition that we have no choice. I mean, even I'm here in California, even here, new plants are being approved, not just for seawater, but also for water reuse. So I see that growing and growing more and more and more. I also see the market not only for small systems, but with future development at Noria, having a system that would work for a smaller system. For example, every oil platform and gas platform have desalination plants on board. Yet they don't have experts, that are on board in that technology. So having remote capabilities and the kind of tools that Noria developed is going to make a huge difference. Now, am I just dreaming that? The answer is no. I've actually had discussions, and we were approached by the likes of Veolia and Suez to talk about this and as a potential solution. So there is a lot more that we haven't really touched at the small scale. At the large scale, we're only covering in 5 years, it'll be 8%, right, of what we could do.
Got it. Thank you so much for making the time for us this evening. Please add your contact info as well in the chat, and look forward to following up with you.
Certainly. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you all.
Appreciate it. Where's Luke? We gotta find Luke. We'll chime in here.
Hey guys.
There you are. Yeah, I found you again. Wonderful. Cal, I don't want to steal your thunder, since you made the connection. Would you like to introduce Luke, or should I brag about him for a second? Because we had a real positive chat the other day. You're on mute, Cal. I think I muted everyone. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've been married for 35 years, so I can't consider myself an expert on online dating. But I think everybody would agree that this is a big problem and a big opportunity. Apparently 70 to 80% of the people using online dating are unhappy with the results. And what Luke has put together is a unique approach to solving that problem. So I have invested in the company, and I think it's got legs.
Awesome, Cal. The only thing I'll add to that, Luke, before you take over, is that one of the things that we look for on our side, or always are founders with grit, who have skin in the game. And one of the things that came through pretty quickly was that Luke grew up in an environment where there was plenty of grit in the family, and he was a Division One athlete as well, and set out to build this company, and he's certainly has plenty of skin in the game too. So excited to have you join us, and I'll hand it over to you now.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, everybody. Thanks for that, Garrett, for the opportunity. Cal, thanks for the words always. It's not like I talk to you every day, so it's good to hear from you on this call too. Welcome everyone. I want to make sure that you guys can see the screen here, and if you can, that's great.
No, we're not seeing.
I'm still seeing Noria's screen actually. Yoram, if I don't know if we're having an issue with Zoom here. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Business now.
Can you guys see this one now?
Now we can. We're good.
Okay. I am not the water guy, so I don't want to be pitching that's for sure. Well, yeah. So Garrett, I'll do a quick little introduction on me. I think that's really important. When you're looking at a company like ours, it's important to know who the founder is. My name's Luke Grady. Grew up in a military environment. Garrett kind of hinted at that. My father's the current vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I was a Division I track and field athlete at Auburn University, and I'm a kind of a SoCal fan. I moved to San Diego immediately after graduation, and then I was in LA for another 5 years. And it was during that time that I really got to see this issue of dating applications and the problems that it kind of presents. So I'll get into our competitive advantage here in a second, but I want to start this presentation with this image. So this is my friend Kayla. She's consented to let us use her photo, and I would argue that she is a very beautiful, good-looking girl right at the gate. I think she's attractive, and I think that she doesn't have to do anything, period, to her photo to make her look different. But that is not what social media and not what online dating tells you nowadays. Nowadays, this is what you have to be. You have to be perfect. And you can notice, if we flip back and forth between those images, you'll see the completely different generation of what she's kind of turned herself into. The retouched facial features, the color grading, the different foreground, background, everything. They have to be supermodels. That's what they think they have to be. And I think that's a problem. The dating app industry is fake, it's altered, and it's unclear. So introducing Prevue. This is what we do. When I founded the company, I thought about a way where it was impossible to catfish. There was a safety aspect, and you had to be yourself and date unfiltered. So we use short form video. We're the first dating app that really uses video as the singular form to making a match. We'll ask users to film within our application a 22-second video talking about what they want in a partner, or who they are, or what they're looking for, or what their hobbies are. And the key to this is it cannot be uploaded, it can't be filtered, and it can't be altered. It has to be filmed within our platform, which leaves a level of security that hasn't really been seen before. You can't hide behind the photos and the altered bios and the things that traditional dating apps do. So that's what our kind of competitive advantage is. Who are the current players in the dating application market? You know probably a lot of them. What you might not know is that Match Group owns all but 2 of them. So Grindr and Bumble are the sole kind of subsidiaries that compete with Match Group, and Match Group owns pretty much everybody else. Grindr IPO'd, Bumble IPO'd, but Bumble and Match Group are the ones that dominate the market. Prevue is still the only application that uses video as the basis for making authentic connections. We're the only one that does it, even with a massive portfolio that these companies have. This slide's pretty important. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on it. Our algorithm, right? We got the secret sauce of the 22 seconds. That's great. But how do you actually match people together? What is so important about your specificity when you make matches? So we can pick up what they're saying via their speech. And then we can also pick up what they see in their, what their shirts have on or what's in the background. So let's say, we talked about the University of Notre Dame, which is where I went to school, and I said how much I loved it. And somebody on this call was wearing a polo that had an ND shirt but said nothing about Notre Dame. Well, our AI can match those two together. So there's a hyper-specific level of matching. And more importantly, the content and tone of the video. We can tell with 99% accuracy whether somebody's an introvert or an extrovert and who would be well matched to suit certain types of individuals. So there's a hyper level of specificity when you get to these kind of matching algorithms, and something that you really can't do with just photos. Video is important. How do we make money? We didn't reinvent the wheel in this. We operate on a freemium model, and then we operate with our subscription levels. So everybody kind of has the free access when they download. You get the Prevue Plus model if you pay $8 a month, the Premier model if you get $20 a month. That's designed to be the whole kit and caboodle. That's really the best portion of it, is if you had the Prevue Premier model. That's what we would encourage individuals to kind of go for. And it's interesting to note that 76% of all monetization within dating applications comes from the subscription model. So we didn't really invent that. We also have in-app purchases, so you can make a la carte purchases and buy certain things that help you or are enticing. But we price those pretty high because we want the monthly value of a lifelong user rather than just the one-time kind of purchases. This is another big slide that I'll hit on. So we have a lot of IP that's surrounding our technology. So we've got 2 utility patents, one on non-edited, unfiltered in-app recorded media. So if you're using that in the form of a dating application, we have the patent on that, and that's really protectable because it's our whole metrics. And then we have another one on our algorithm, so user categorization with machine learning and AI to help people make matches. We filed provisionals for unfiltered audio and visual identification, and our attorneys are working through those pretty well. And then we also have 6 design patents that have been issued within the United States, the EU, UK, Australia, and Korea. And I just got word today that Canada will also be issued here soon. So that's really good news for our company as well. So we're decently well protected right out the gate. Here's some of our key metrics as of May 1st. So we launched in Boston February 9th of 2023. We saw some pretty significant traction right out the gate, and we had to expand to Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So we've seen over 46,000 downloads. We've gotten 502 paying users, and we've converted 17% of the people that have downloaded into an active user. And our CPI is $8.04 per install. The 17% conversion rate is a really important number because the industry standard for dating applications from a download to conversion is about 10. So we're dominating that market right now in terms of that metric, and that's something that we need to keep going. Here's our valuation slide. We've done a few raises. To date, we've raised just over $2 million, and we're valuing ourselves at 14 million post money, so 11 million pre. And that's really coming from our paying user metric and the amount of converted users that we're seeing, and the fact that this is a very scalable idea, and the amount of money we've dumped into marketing is so minute compared to what we could be and where it could scale. Here's our overview and timeline. So we launched in Boston, Massachusetts. We reached 4,000 downloads in a month. And we said, okay, we need to really start to think about opening this up to different kind of areas. We did some research and we found that Washington, D.C. was the next and best city to go to. And D.C. is when everything kind of took off. We saw a tremendous amount of downloads super quickly. We saw interactions and matches. We hosted in-person events and partnerships with Solid Core and Barry's Fitness. And we just saw great progress. In fact, we had to release version 2.0 of the app with the user feedback and comments we got. In 2024, what we'd like to do is in June, we want to launch Philadelphia. We were hoping to have that done by middle of May. We are now finalizing the plans for it, and then we want to launch New York City in August. If everything goes right with this fundraising round, we'll be able to launch nationwide. Los Angeles is one of the big targets that we're kind of looking at. You can't really think of a better city to do it other than New York. So here's what we need. And this is coming in the form of two options. So we're looking at $3 million to sustain our momentum. And you'll see the majority of that's going to marketing and public relations. I will make a side note that public relations, they are working in tandem with marketing. So what our public relations individuals do is they're a team of 7 women that find the influencers to push the product to the right individuals. And we see a direct correlation that when there is a influencer posting, you see unbelievable momentum. So we're going to dump a lot of money into them, and we're going to keep seeing some pretty good success. Garrett mentioned that I've got skin in the game. I have not taken a salary yet in this kind of endeavor, and we're raising money so that we can start to adequately pay the employees that we have that are either fractional, part-time, or full-time. And we've got a lot of other great things in the pipeline, so that we have 100,000 also donated to R&D. This is offered in an equity round of just flat equity if you were to invest a significant chunk. But what you would get with that is a warrant that would expire 5 years after. So let's say somebody put in 250,000 at the 11 million pre-money. They would then get 5 years to put in an additional 20% of that capital for the next 5 years. But the convertible note round is the one that we're seeing people close out. With this convertible note, we're trying to cap it at $500,000. And what we're offering is a 20% discount on the 11 million pre-money valuation. So if you invested in the convertible note round, which is check sizes anywhere from 25 all the way up to 200, you would essentially be converting, if you decided to convert your shares, at an $8.8 million valuation. And that's a really exciting prospect because that's obviously less than what we had last year at the 9 million valuation. So I can send those terms. I'll put those in the chat for everybody. This is the last thing I really want to hit on, is that this technology is not just limited to dating. We've actually already filed a patent for college admissions, and we're working with certain universities to build a beta model for their application cycles and bring some personality actually into the blanket resumes that you see when you submit an application. And we're researching other patentable areas in career recruiting, financial planning, childcare, pet care, mentorship, mental health, and athletic coaching. And we really see this company being a holding company for unfiltered video-based programming, which is a very exciting prospect and something that I think can really come to a T. We think we can be acquired, and we think with the proper funding and the proper channels from the team that we've built, this is something that is almost impossible to fail. We'd like to be acquired within the next 5 to 7 years, and we think that with the current macro environment of Match Group and Bumble, the opportunity cost is ripe right now. They are looking for innovators in the space, and Prevue is one of those innovators. Literally, the Bumble CEO is mentioned as saying there haven't been innovators in this in the last 10 years. This is probably the most innovative one that we can think of, and we're very proud of that. And here's our team, right? Not really going to go into it, but myself, my older brother, Enzo Castellani is our creative, and then John Trimble, he's an advisor that helps kind of scale. And that is our concept. The power and precision of 22-second, unfiltered, unaltered video for great matchmaking and solving a problem that I've found is unfortunately very prevalent and very sad with today's technology and today in the world. So I'm going to stop the share. I can turn it right back on if you guys need anything, but I went a little bit over, and I want to make sure that the questions are good.
No, appreciate it, Luke. First question I have is, you made a statement that within 99% accuracy, you can predict whether somebody's an introvert or an extrovert. And I gotta understand that a little bit more, because that seems like whatever you're doing that powers that is going to apply to all those other verticals. So
it is. So how it works is it reads the body language and the language structure that's actually coming out of the mouth and looks at the eyes. And it can tell whether it starts with a couple keywords, and that's why we need at least 15 seconds of a video to really tell. And it says, okay, well, this person seems to be regressed, and this person's talking very softly. And it is a list of machine learning that has all of these key indicative factors that say, if they check all these boxes, that they're an introvert. And then what happens is we start feeding them other people that are introverted. And at the end of the day, we can kind of see the results. The reason I say 99% accuracy is because when I look at the data, Every single person that we pitched to them and shown to them on our platform that is also kind of similar, they've liked. And the people that have been extroverted that we've shown them, they haven't. So that's what's kind of exciting about that is they look at the overall, the video and the algorithm we built can look at the overall structure and just sense all of the key data points that are coming from a video and really make the decision.
Got it. I have more, but I want to make sure the group gets questions in. So, anyone else, feel free to chime in.
I know that
You mentioned introverts being paired with introverts. Just a quick question: like, is that typical? But where does that come from as far as their study goes? I'm curious if like introverts would be with an extrovert in that example.
Yeah, so how it works for our algorithm at least is we worked with psychologists to help build it, and we wanted to see what was going to get the best possible match. So in the very beginning, when they first onboard and they get online, we have the video and the algorithm takes it and they start pushing people. And they push a specific mix of introverted maybe 60% of the time and extroverted 40% of the time. And then it starts to kind of hypercurate like a marketing funnel. And it says, okay, well, these people are the ones that they liked or that they engaged with or that they want to message. So we're going to feed them more individuals like that. And typically always it's the similar of the similar that works. And it's the same way for the extroverted and the extroverted. That's what we technically see. And the reason for that is because unlike the actual photos that you get to look at, it's not physical attraction based. It's based on what you're hearing and what you're looking at and what you're sensing of the overall vibe of the individual. It's not just a picture and then you swipe saying, yeah, that person's good looking or not. There's a lot more context and meat to the individual, which is something we're proud of because that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
For your active users, do you have a KPI around essentially active minutes per month?
I have
They're spending on the app.
Yeah, so typically an active user for us is on the app every single day, and that's at least 15 minutes. And we see that a lifetime user on Prevue's product, as they either make matches and get off the application, or are on the application and haven't had any success. Let's say, hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. That's around 65 days for one of those active users. The great thing about it is our churn is the churn for dating applications is the main issue, right? You want them to find success, but you want to keep them because if they're paying, they're a lifelong subscriber. We have a really good churn ratio where people are either sticking around or getting off the app super quick, but for the one person that gets off, 4 more are filled. So that's a really exciting thing for us. And I think it's a testament to the fact that it's video based, and while it is a little bit vulnerable to be on the product, the matching is spot on.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I gotta dig into the KPI question just a little bit more quickly because you mentioned the $8.40 cost per install. Can you go a little bit further and tell me, so how much is it, what's the cost per profile that's created, and then more cost per engaged user, and you can use it more like a city where you got good penetration early, like you don't have to across the board, but where things really work. I'd be
so cost per install, right? It's a great question. When we put that $8.4 up there, it means that per install it's $8.4. The cost per acquired customer is around $35 to $40 in a given city. In the cities that we're really doing well, DC and then Boston, they're at $35, $37. So that's the cost per acquired customer. The cost per paying user is around is a little bit higher than that, and that's to be expected. And the reason that's to be expected is because we are in the phase of user acquisition. We are not marketing this product right now for hey, pay for the product, pay for Prevue, upgrade to premium. We are in the phase of get on our application, fall in love with it, and let's build a user base so we have a massive aggregate of people that can speak to what this technology really can do. So we're not even in that phase yet. I don't project us to be in that phase for another 18 months. We just want to keep growing, and we want to get the user base to over 100,000 individuals.
okay. I think we're kind of up against it time-wise. Unless there's a burning question, maybe we'll take it over to the chat because we went a little longer on the pitch piece. Anybody raise your hand if we got a deep question that needs to get in front of the group? Looks like my dog has a question in the background here. He's anyway. All right. I will, thank you so much, Luke. Thanks, Cal, for making the, recommendation. Please do stick around, for a little bit in case those questions, come in. And we'll push forward with our final, presentation of the evening from Pavel. And, yeah, so there you are, Pavel. I see you. So Pavel stepped up. We were actually going to have, pavers, come in, and I was going to have Pavel present next month, but, we had a late cancellation. And you know what? Like a good founder, he sees the opportunity to jump in here. And so we're running late on time. So Pavel, I'll say, if Andre was here, he'd be singing your praises because I've heard him do it multiple times. Says you're one of the strongest founders he's come across with, and Andre runs distillery and has about 500 developers that he employs across the world. So he knows a thing or two about assessing tech talent. And he says you're the best. So there you go. There's your intro. Take it away.
Thank you, Garrett. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Hello, everyone. So let me share my screen and let me know if you can see it. And I'm gonna do full screen. Can you see it? Awesome. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about VS Optima. And maybe I can start from a short introduction. So my name is Pavel. I'm a founder of VS Optima. 20 years in technology. First 10 years I spent working in the SaaS, building the products as an architect and engineer. Then I did my research in artificial intelligence and Academy of Science in Russia. Then moved to US, work in big tech. And for the last 10 years before I started VS Optima, I run the consulting practice focused on operations research and operations optimization. That led me to this journey to create VS Optima that I started right after MBA from UCLA Anderson. So VS Optima is 3 years old. We focus on the building or kind of creating capability for companies to do the simulation and optimization of operations that focus on the business users, not for engineers, though engineers can also benefit. So let's get started. What kind of questions, like why it's important? So being a consultant and running a lot of various kind of engagements. So usually you start from discovery. It takes, I don't know, up to 2 months it might take to figure out, okay, what the problems are. And usually trying to answer the question that leadership would like to find out, like how you're going to scale operations, how you're going to improve certain capability, what if the demand change, and you need to really get the structure of your processes and operations, which are not visible at the moment. So like in the digital reality that we live in, data is not available, processes are not visible. So you can make decisions informally, and often consultants even like fell into the trap to the best practices and suboptimal decisions. And we believe this is wrong way to do. This is why we built VS Optima, which create the model of your operations, connect to the data layer, and you can use generative AI and simulation to find what issues are, identify the inefficiencies, quantify them, forecast disruptions, create the optimal configuration of the processes, and propose solutions for certain transformational changes, pre-engineering or scaling, or whatever questions are essential for you to answer as it relates to the operations. Just to give you a sense what I'm talking about, like operations. So here's an example of our current client. So retail in Canada, we're working with a couple of banners out of menu that they own. Revenue more than close to $3 billion. And we can look at the value from VS Optima from different angles. So we can look at the, for instance, financial analytics efficiency. So they need to calculate, let's imagine, schedule for the employees in the stores, and they do it manually. It takes like at least 1 day for the data science team every 2 weeks. Or they need to have a budget, and they always kind of either under budget or over budget. And in either way, you have certain issues. So you can look at the financial analytics efficiency, like help analytics team to be more efficient, right? But we also can look at the value from the decisions that VS Optima can facilitate. for the cost optimization on the labor, for instance. Or even right now, what we're working on is workforce performance optimization to match the schedule of employees in the store to the demand pattern, therefore improving the sales like significantly. Even 1% of improvement will yield millions, dozens of millions of dollars of additional revenue. Just this is one of the use cases. How does it work? So again, with the digital world, we have a lot of data. And most of the data can be collected through logs. Logs describe the processes, and you can almost automatically create the structure of the sequence of events, understand the capacity, understand the behavior patterns of the people and systems involved. If some processes or steps are not automated, you can always enrich them with assumptions, observation, interview, and so on. But at the end, you have a causal model of what is happening on the floor of your operations. And then you can talk to the LLM and ask questions about where the bottlenecks are, what inefficiencies, like why it is a bottleneck. And you can run simulations to understand what if analysis. So for instance, what if I'm gonna hire more people? Or what if my demand gonna change? What would be the implications for my performance? Those are questions that you can easily answer. Or like another question that we often have as a use case, what if you introduce certain technology in one of the steps? What kind of impact of ROI would we gonna get as a business? Often you also need to do, once you can come up to the structure of the process, you also need to find the optimal configuration. How many people exactly do you need? Like what would be the optimal schedule given the demand pattern or anticipated demand pattern? So you can find the optimization solution through our platform as well. And again, this is focused on the business users that don't know how to write the code. They don't use any optimizers, any kind of these engineering tools. We leverage very simple user interface and help them to make complex things in an easy way. I maybe skip for a demo. Would love to show you our traction that we actually have by that moment. So we focus right now primarily on retail and engineering side, though we are talking to other like financial industry and manufacturing, trying to understand what use cases are. But let me talk about retail. So what we see right now, the majority of use cases that we see the traction are related to the workforce performance optimization that I just told you before for Canadian Tire. But there are many others that we can also cover. Let's say predictive maintainability of the assets that might be relevant for retails that sell like fresh food, for instance. It might be inventory optimization, which also we can facilitate. And this is relevant for all retail. So with Canadian Tire, we piloting these use cases. We can get the data points of the impact, and then we can easily scale for FedEx, Cardinal Health. This is where we have right now a conversation about a similar use case. Engineering field is also, we're talking about engineering productivity. And you can see like workforce performance optimization or workforce performance, like there is a connotation with engineering productivity. We use the same algorithm, the same concept. And we're right now signing up the SOW with EPAM to help them to streamline their processes. EPAM is one of the largest service provider, publicly traded company. And by the way, I forget to say, Canadian Tire is one of the largest retail in Canada. Yeah, we have a good prospect talking about engineering with companies like ThoughtWorks. They are very interested. Grid Dynamics also would love to explore our capability to optimize their processes. Emphasis, we already signed up the partnership, and we have a joint pursuit of our other clients. And I also forget to add another logo, which is Entity Data. It's our partner, and they're also interested in two aspects about VS Optima, focus on the internal aspect, acceleration of certain internal processes, and engineering productivity for their clients. If we're talking about, let's say, financial domain nationwide, we had a great conversation today. They are super interested to optimize the productivity of their claim processes, for instance, and at that scale, again, the impact will be huge, even like small percentage of optimization and improvement will yield and justify any investment. Yeah, so what we have here as a go-to-market strategy is partnership with the technology providers, because they have exposure to the businesses across different domains. They have a relationship with them. We don't need to spend time to build this relationship, but they are hungry to get conversation on the business side to elevate the value of their services. So we see the synergy with them, and this is like why we have emphasis on NTT data, and here is EPAM systems, Armaxon, and like ThoughtWorks, HCL, all of them are very interested because we can help them to talk about not just technology or engineering services as a commodity, but talk about, hey guys, you have a process like as a business, as a client, and this is if we implement certain Gen AI for CRM system, this is how it's going to play out. This would be impact, and they can justify the investment. From our side, we can help client to track how the value is realized and ensure that the performance of the process will be visible, transparent, and they can continuously optimize it further. We also have a SaaS version of the product, which we use for tracking who are the companies, like from which companies and which industries people are interested in these capabilities like simulation and optimization. And we see the similar pattern, financial services, manufacturing, and retail. Who are our users? The key user and like key beneficiary from our platform is a head of operational excellence. In large companies, there are always units like Lean, Six Sigma, Center of transformation programs. All these people are empowered to do the transformation, but they don't have any tool set to explain the certain change, justify the certain change, and quantify the impact of the transformation in a faster and easy way. Right now, what they do is pen and paper, at best Excel. So, and we help them to find the opportunities, justify investment, and impact the business. Partner executive from the technology companies, as I mentioned, they benefit from service multiplier. They use our platform as a door opener for their opportunities. They benefit from additional, more value-added engineering services. And for us, this is additional use cases. And of course, yeah, process engineer, data scientists, people and analysts, people who are using this platform to make better decisions. The market is huge. Digital twin market is growing. I believe Tensa, the first company that presented, also focused on the simulation digital twin in slightly different field, but still. So we believe according to Gartner, those numbers we see like a digital twin is a hot topic, especially with the Gen AI capability. And Gen AI is limited from this perspective to validate hypothesis and have causality in the reasoning. And this is what we're covering with our technology, empower Gen AI to really make decisions and justify and be transparent how certain Gen AI came up to the decision. Market players, we can classify them in two buckets, I believe. The first bucket are classical digital twin players that focus on the physical assets, and we are not competing with them. They primarily focus on engineering and product development. There are players in the simulation market like AnyLogic, Simio, MATLAB.
Pavel, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Just a heads up that we're definitely cutting into Q&A time here. Just
Okay.
Heads up. Yep.
Then let me probably jump to maybe a couple of words about the team. Team is very experienced. We have, like myself, I did the research in artificial intelligence. Sergey has a PhD in operations research. Richard, our sales guy, he led sales team in Automation Anywhere, and the rest of engineering team is well experienced. We have a great advisory team with industry experience in artificial intelligence product advisory and in technology expertise. Our ask is what we're looking for right now is 120K. in convertible note to execute those SOWs as working capital. Objective is to get to the 30K MRR by the end of Q3. Any questions?
Yeah, why don't you touch on the key terms of the note? I don't see the valuation cap, the
Yeah.
interest rate, or maybe no, there is the interest rate right there, but I don't see oh, cap is 4 million, excuse me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All
Value
right.
cap is 4 million. Terms is for years, discount 20%. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Sorry, it was staring me in the face there. I couldn't see
No
it.
worries.
All right. Yeah, I'll throw a question out here, and this is probably an oversimplified question, but I think maybe others might have it. Right. I'm trying to, and I think I know the answer here, but I'm trying to understand how much of what you built is plug and play, and how much requires consulting services to implement, and the distinction between the revenue streams, because between the two, and so yeah, I'll leave it there, and maybe you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that. Hey,
No
Carter,
worries.
yourself in the future. All right.
Yeah, so definitely there is a consulting opportunity here. So you can build process, it's rather simple. The key interesting part would be to discover the causality, right? If there is no logs, so logs are partially available, so it's discovery phase. This is why the technology providers would embrace our platform to upsell the service, but they upsell on the additional kind of value point, if you will, or value perception. So an integration part, once you build a model, you want to connect to the data layer to continuously see what is happening, continuously run optimization, then it's integration service. This is why technology provider would also benefit from working with us. So this is multiplier for them. They have a consulting services, but companies can use our platform by themselves as well. Again, you can build a model based on your observation, or you can, if you have a data science team or data analytics team, you can do it by yourself. It's not necessary to have a technology provider.
How long is your sales cycle?
It's long. I would say it took us, like, for Canadian Tire to get to the signing the deal, a year. With EPAM, it was faster, like 3 months. Yeah, I believe like maybe an average should be about 6-8 months.
Thank you.
It's long.
Other questions from the group? I'll throw one out there.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead, Bill.
throw-
Go ahead, Bill, please.
Yeah, what do you have to prove to your prospective client? What's the most important thing you have to prove to them that you can do?
There are two things what we learn. The first thing is, first of all, that you can model any use case. Like, you need to find use case with the value that you generate enough to justify the investment, let's say 180 or 120 on annual basis. And another part is to make sure that it's not the only one use case. So the company are buying the enterprise platform that solve two functionalities, two capabilities: simulation, no-code simulation, and no-code optimization. So those are capabilities that are absent at the landscape of current enterprises. So you have, I don't know, IBM Cplex, EC3 II, other platforms, heavily engineered. You need to hire a bunch of staff, highly skilled, scarce talent. And often people companies are buying platforms that they don't have resources to get value out of that. So we're trying to lower the bar for business users that they can build by themselves models and do the optimization.
Thanks.
120K. Oh, go ahead, please. Whoever that was.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. I've been following Palantir for the last 3 years, kind of religiously, to be honest. And my question to you is, like, why are people coming to you instead of going to Palantir and doing their boot camps and what they have, and building something in, 8 days that traditionally takes 8 months?
Good question. Palantir, because they play in a different weight category, so their pilot cost like starting from $1 million. Our pilot cost 50K, and we can do it in a month. I believe they're gonna spend more time. So, and Palantir has much more capabilities, I guess. The one I'm not sure that I used properly. What is interesting in our solution, this is actually kind of make me think a lot, is the value that we can get from the use case. For instance, if we're gonna take use case for retail, this one, right? We can package the solution and say that it's empowered by VS Optima, I sell it on the value basis. So for instance, you can do the like fixed fee consulting for 50K and say, okay, like instead of purchasing the platform, I mean, there is no, if customers doesn't know about our platform, they really care about the value that they can get from the use case. We can sell the use case on the kind of outcome based as well, which interesting kind of perspective. Then I still thinking how we should properly price as a SaaS, or really like get the first use case built as a SaaS, get the data point, and then market those use cases for other retails on the outcome based, which generate much more revenue. But this is open question.
Gotcha.
Let's be the last question, I think, Paul, because we're coming up on time here. But the 120K gets you to $30,000 in MRR.
Yeah.
When you hit that goal, what is the next milestone, and what are you then going to go raise? What are the terms you're going to seek, and what's the timing for that?
Yeah, we're gonna raise next round to scale. So basically, the idea is that we have this use case implemented that we're gonna sign the SOW right now for, and raise the money to scale them. And it's not like 120. So the idea is to start from 120 or so. It's based on usage, and ideally, the customers when we like size that we're talking to, so they definitely have much more than 20 users, and most likely we end up on the higher scale of ARR. But yeah, objective is to get these cases done, have data points, and scale them out as a next step. So we're gonna raise like close to the second half of the year, the round to expedite the market.
I'd encourage you in this market, and we can talk more about this later, but we want to probably whatever you're raising should really be targeted to get you to about $1 million in ARR. That seems to be sort of the next sort of benchmark milestone that will. I mean, you obviously can do it less, but it's well.
Okay.
We'll follow up on that point. But anyway, this is I learn something new every time I hear you present. So I took more away from this one than the last time, and I really appreciate you making the time for us, and look forward to following up. So I think we Pavel, if you quickly drop your contact info into the chat. Unfortunately, we're kind of out of time here to do the text chat because we have to chat about you briefly, and that's. We'll give you a second, but if were a presenter this evening, I'm going to ask that you sign off now.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you so much. Great job to all our presenters tonight. This was a good lineup. All right. Okay, I think I'm looking around. I actually have to run here like in a couple of minutes to go meet with the founder over at Rockin' Brew in El Segundo. So it's a I guess who picked the meeting location, everyone. But I will I want to keep it really direct. I'm just going to ask you to just go around the room and just say what's your favorite your number one and number two or actually we're just going to go with number one tonight. Just the number one company, and we don't have to time for reasons. We'll chat more on the follow-up calls. Bill, you're up.
I think the first one, Tilt.
Okay, great. Hunter, you're next.
I'm in agreement. I loved Tilt. I love Tilt.
Okay. Stender, I think you're muted. Either that or I'm going deaf.
Still muted.
Spender loves a dramatic entry. That's what he's doing. Right, Spender.
Okay.
Tilt.
Tilt.
Okay. All right, Cal, you're up next.